Welcome to another edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me, as always, is new Mike L, Kevin Jank.
Hey, I'm here. And today we're gonna get our Drakulon.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah. That was a very hilarious joke.
There's like 3 people who are familiar with this comic book who are laughing hysterically right now.
A lot of perps who love Vampirella got that joke.
See, Vampirella comes from a planet called Drakulon.
Yeah.
And Jank did a little play on words there.
Yep. An unlikely origin for Vampirella. Wouldn't expect her to be from outer space.
Yeah.
But, yep.
That's exactly the thing I was saying last week. Like, I had no idea she came from another planet. Like, what the heck? I didn't know any of this. So, yeah, this week we are doing Vampirella, issue 38 from 1974. This is a character I think everybody recognizes because you always see this really foxy lady in a skimpy little, like, bathing suit outfit with a collar, which is, like, weird. And,
yeah, this was, I remember when I first started reading comics in like the 90s and I would get the advertisement things for, you know, books that are coming out, whatever. And, you always see her and Lady Death and you're like, oh, this is the kind of stuff you can't let your mom see or she will never let you buy comic books again.
You have to always appeal to the pale-friendless virgins, but, the skimpy ladies. But, yeah, so today we'll learn all about Vampirella and, this is the final week of Shocktober, sadly. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
What a way to go out on this spine-tingling tale. Oh, man.
It's not exactly thrilling, but
no. Not so much.
You know, it's something, though. All right, so Vampirella, we'll be doing that in a second. Before we do, let's remind everybody, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We're up to 294 subscribers, so we're closing in on 300.
300. That's pretty good. That's a perfect game in bowling. We can get there.
But keep in mind, it's still only 60% of where we need to be.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be a long haul truck.
All right. Close to getting that 3 cents a video, though.
Yes, because we're going to be raking. Even once we get to, 500 subscribers, we still need to accomplish something else before we can make money. And we're still like halfway to that. So, but getting to 500 would help with the other one. So we need to get to 500. And I promise you, if you're listening,
if we cash bribes to subscribe to this show,
if we start making money, Jank will see a portion of it. So that's what I promise you. So, all right, let's go. And one more thing, let's remind everybody, I have a book out there called Monkey Flip about a chimp detective, and I will keep hawking that until we get to 500 subscribers, and then I'll stop.
Let's get in on this now, people, because the next book may be very up the alley of people,
That's a very good point. And I was actually, I haven't officially started writing it yet, but this week when I was out there shooting hockey, Jank, I was plotting a little bit. Yeah,
it has begun.
It has begun. Because I was always thinking, well, I'll take a little break. I'll start writing again in November, maybe. And then I looked at the calendar and I'm like, holy hell, it's almost November. What the hell? I have to really start working here. So, but yeah, the next book will probably be taking place in a comic book convention.
Ooh, I'm very excited.
Yeah, there'll be a murder or something. It's probably not, well, I don't want to spoil it. But, all right, so anyway. What's that?
Don't give away the goods right now.
Yeah. Because so many people are buying the first one. We have to make sure we limit how much they learn about the second one. All right, anyway. The Vampirella 38 from 1974. This is another one of those like black and white horror anthology magazine formats. That's what we're dealing with here. And this is from Warren Publishing. Have we ever done a Warren Publishing before? I don't think so. Huh?
That doesn't sound familiar, no.
And Vampirella 1 came out in 1969, and that was her first appearance. And she was created by writer Forrest J. Ackerman. who is kind of a legendary sci-fi guy. I think, like, I don't know, he's an expert in sci-fi stuff or something, I don't know. But he's kind of well known in those circles. And Trina Robbins was the artist who designed her.
Oh, okay.
We've heard of her before, right?
Have we?
I think so.
Maybe you have. I don't know if I've heard that name.
I think she did, shoot. I know we've encountered her once before on here. I want to say maybe she did some Wonder Woman back in the day.
Oh.
Can't remember. Something like
that. She drawing crowbars with flashlights. Could she have done something?
No, that was Camelot 3000. I always enjoy a good throwback reference to Camelot 3000. But, so Vampirella, she hosted other horror stories in this book, kind of like,
Elvira, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Her gimmick.
Clearly Elvira ripped off Vampirella a little bit, right?
Yeah. Definitely. They have a lot of the same assets, that's for sure.
Yes, some of my favorite assets in the entire world. And she hosted the horror stories, and then by issue, well, they had background, they had a backup, not a backup, but she had stories in those first 8 issues. But they were just like they focus on her background and explaining who she is, and so that's where you get her history. But then by issue 8, Archie Goodwin came in as editor, and he really started to evolve her into like a true leading character and heroine. So she started starring in her own little monthly, I guess this was monthly, adventures as a hero. So
yeah,
there you go.
Pretty cool.
And Vampirella is from the planet Drakulon, as we mentioned earlier. Now, the cool thing about this here planet, Jack, is it has water, but its water is actually blood. Okay. So like
that's pretty great.
All the rivers and oceans, it's blood. And,
wow.
So a
bunch of vampires. This must be heaven.
Yeah, they don't realize anything's weird about it. That's just their water. Yeah. Like you go to take a shower, there's blood coming out, but it's not unusual at all. It's just the way their world works. And sadly, there's a lot of droughts. And all the blood started to dry up. So all her people were like pretty much dying off. And then one day, a U.S. spaceship with astronauts crashed on Drakulon.
Country Buffet just landed on Drakulon.
Yeah, she didn't know that, because like she doesn't know what Earthlings are. But she went in to check them out or something, and I think what happened was one of her deals is all these people on Drakulon, they can turn into bats, just like other vampires,
Sure.
And in fact, in the early story, she could also just like pop wings out of her back and fly around in her human form. But I think they dropped that the longer they went. But if memory serves, she turned into a bat to fly over and see what was going on with the ship that crashed. And one of the astronauts like took a shot at her because, it was a bat, and they were freaked out, and that got her mad, and she went down and bit him in the neck. And then she's like, oh, wait, they're filled with water. Delicious, delicious water. And she just feasted. And then she's like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this spaceship back to their planet, and I'm going to eat. So that's what she did. She wanted to do. And I think she wanted to go back to Earth to find a way to save her old planet, But then when she got there, like, she just said, screw it. I don't know. Just gonna. But still, she was so here on Earth, she's a good vampire, though. She doesn't
not so much kill on, apparently. Just feeding away.
She doesn't just murder people. She tries to only get her blood from, approved sources. I don't know.
The butcher, she just gets a bunch of blood, I guess.
Or she will hunt down, bad people, bad vampires, actually. Because, there are vampires in our world.
We drink other vampires' blood, huh?
Yeah. So, because even like Dracula, I guess, he's somehow connected to this Drakulon planet. I guess that's why, I don't know.
Yeah, they seem to have a lot of past lives, and they've been here.
Yes.
I don't know.
And I think the implication is all vampires come from that planet or something, but I don't know. It's all very weird. But the point is, Vampirella is from another planet. Now she's here, and she's making the best of it. So,
yeah. Just like that, but with vampires.
And again, she's a very foxy, black-haired lady. Usually she's depicted with like, long, straight black hair with like bangs. And, then she wears like a red, like a V swimsuit kind of.
Yeah. It's like two, vertical panels that just kind of go, they kind of intersect at the neckline and then spread out to cover the nipples and then meet down at the bottom, like the bottom of a bathing suit.
Yes. And she's got like, I guess boots of some sort, right? Or I can't really know.
Yeah. I think black boots, maybe just black leathery boots.
Thigh highs? I can't even remember. You think I would have this committed to memory?
At least not on the cover there.
Yeah.
Only go up to about her calf.
But anyway, but at the top of the bathing suit, though, there's a big white collar.
Yeah, that's right.
That's odd.
It is. Yeah.
It's a good look.
Huh.
Yeah. And then the other distinguishing characteristic of Vampirella is she has a birthmark on the inside of her right breast in the shape of a bat.
Oh,
yeah.
That's kind of a giveaway.
How about that?
This is a lot like Satana, the other.
Yes.
She had a birthmark. Devil
That's right.
As well, so.
Of the devil, yeah. Huh.
Overs.
How about that?
Everybody's ripping everybody off.
So the original magazine ran for 112 issues, ending in 1983 with Warren Publishing's bankruptcy. Then Harris Publications acquired Warren's assets in August of 1983, and they published various Vampirella stories and comics from 1991 until 2007. Then Dynamite Entertainment acquired Vampirella's rights in 2010 and started a new ongoing series that ran for 38 issues ending in 2014. But there have been several subsequent reboots in Vampirella one-shots and series. So she's still being published and everything. So
look at that.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they got better as they went along as far as storytelling, but I'm hoping anyway. I don't know how
the story's fine. I mean, it's just not exact like pretty straightforward, but it's like I don't know.
Yeah.
So
not a lot of twists, real peril.
You got a foxy lady in a bathing suit. What more do you want? That's really no one's buying it for the stories,
They're just buying it to be titillated, yeah.
And the creators here, the writer is a fellow named Flaxman Lowe. What a name that is!
That's amazing.
Flaxman Lowe. And I could find nothing about this person. And I mean, the internet's a big place, and I really had trouble finding anything. But he did write like 22 Vampirella stories. And
I think that's a pseudonym. Like some guy was just embarrassed to be writing
I would not be embarrassed to write Vampirella. My phone rings. Give me a call. I'll write some Vampirella. And the artist is
have monkeys in them now.
And the artist here is a fellow named Jose Gonzalez. And he was born in Barcelona, Spain in 1939. Sadly, he died in March 2009 at the age of 70. His nickname was Pepe.
Oh.
Pepe Gonzalez. And
pretty good.
He drew every Vampirella issue from 12 through 34, and then he remained the primary artist until issue 82 in 1979. Overall, he drew 53 issues, making him the most prolific Vampirella artist. And when I say he drew the issue, he just drew the Vampirella story in the issue.
There's 6 stories in this issue. I don't know if that's common or how many they normally have. But
And did you notice who was one of the artists on the other story in here? It was
I did not.
Our old buddy Esteban Morado from Satana that I liked so much.
Oh, you sure did.
Yeah, and he did do some Vampirella as well. So,
look at that.
I know. And it seems like a lot of these horror anthologies, a lot of Spanish artists.
Yeah. It's definitely a theme.
They have a cool style. I like the way they draw.
Yeah, I gotta say this guy I liked a lot better than the Satana guy.
I think I like this. I like this Satana guy better. We'll talk about it why, because this art's really good though. It's really good. But
This is pretty solid. I like this a lot.
All right, so I guess that's all the background I got here on Vampirella. Let's look at the cover here, and the cover is a hand painted cover, like a lot of these anthologies are, done by a fellow named Manuel San Julian, and a lot of the times he just went by the name San Julian. And he did a bunch of Vampirella covers over the years as well. So why don't you describe it for us there, Jake?
Oh, I don't even know if my words can do this justice because it looks pretty great.
It is great.
Up in the left corner, we got the Warren magazine, and kind of a little face shot of Vampirella there with her bangs and stuff. It says Vampy, number 38. Got the kind of above the title, it says 6 chillingly illustrated horror classics. And then we get the Vampirella title, which is pretty awesome. The font there is really cool. Very like Munsters or something like that.
Yeah. And they like nest the second L inside on top of the first L in Vampirella. So that's cool.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yep.
And then we get into the cover itself, which is very kind of, I don't know, is this like painted or?
Yes, it's painted. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This looks pretty amazing. She's in like a crypt, like an Egyptian style crypt. There's a mummy behind her. There's a dude in like a druid or something, kind of wearing a cloak. He's also camped out there. There's some kind of a skeleton arm reaching out of one of the, what do you call it? Like a,
like a little,
where the bodies, where you'd slide in a coffin. And this arm is reaching out, and then Vampirella's she was holding a candle, and then she just kind of dropped that, so that's falling. It's in midair currently, and she's just kind of doing, I don't know, like a weird pelvic thrust.
I think she's startled. She's like, what? And she's looking at it. So when you get startled, you have to throw out your breasts and pop your hips. Bang.
Yep. Spread your legs wide.
And she looks great here, though. And
it says, horrors from the grave trap Vampirella in an ancient Roman crypt where she must face a murderous mummy. Plus, the gypsy curse, an old man's death wish, sends hordes of hellish demons to destroy his killer. But we won't be talking about that.
No. There's also another story in here about a lady who uses a bunch of cats to murder a guy.
Oh.
Pretty cool.
Sounds your ideal match.
Yeah. So, it also looks like her bathing suit has a little symbol there on the bottom down near the,
yeah.
What is that, like supposed to be a bat?
I don't know.
I think so.
Post of the Phoenix.
Yeah, and she also has like a little, band around her left bicep as well. Some sort of bracelet or something. All right, it's a great cover.
Black Panthers or something like that. I don't know.
But this is a great cover. The lighting on it's awesome, and she looks great. So good job.
This looks amazing. Pretty good.
So then we open it up and we see they have a page of the 6 stories. We get the Mummy's Revenge, which is the Vampirella story. Then Gypsy Curse, Lucky Stiff. See, look at them cats murdering that dude. Lucky Stiff. And Out of the Nameless City. On Little Cat Feet. Oh, wow, look at that. Yeah. And then Trick of the Tide is the final one.
Yeah.
So, they all look like great art. But
yeah, they're different styles, but yeah, interesting.
Then we get to a contents page. And then we get to Vampirella. The Mummy's Revenge. And it says the revelation that Vampirella was Queen Cleopatra in her earlier incarnation can scarcely have knocked keen students of the Drakulon saga all of a heap with surprise. Wow, that's awesome. But so apparently she was Cleopatra.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. If she just didn't even know about humans until those Earthmen landed on Dracula,
I guess she just remembered she was Cleopatra all of a sudden. Because when I was trying to pick this, like I was looking for an issue we could do, and this one has a mummy in it, so I'm like, oh, that's definitely extra Shocktobery. Plus, I always look for what would make a good thumbnail, and that cover's great. So that's why I picked this. But when I was flipping through some other ones, there were like a few issues in a row there where she was like back in ancient Egypt, and she was Cleopatra, and she was doing all this other stuff. So, and then when she like first came to Earth, she went out to Hollywood, and she was making movies and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So we probably watched some of those movies on the LCS show.
Oh yeah.
Very bad. But all right, so anyway, they're just saying, hey, the saga continues here, spanning 2,000 years. Vampirella now comes up against a grisly relic of her past on a night of yawning graves when she falls victim to the mummy's revenge.
Ooh.
And this is kind of like one of them DC deals where there's a splash page that hints at what's to come. And
yeah, it's not really a splash page. It is like a bunch of panels, but it is definitely a sneak peek of what's coming later in the issue.
Yeah, and we see her like in a leopard print coat. But again, this was my one problem with this art in this story is Vampirella did not look consistent throughout the story. like her haircut there is completely different in that first inset panel. Like she doesn't have bangs. She has just long hair. And
that is fair. For more characters, it would be confusing, but she was basically the only woman in this whole story, so it's pretty.
Yeah, but like when I was just flipping through it, like to see which issue I'm picking, I remember I was like flipping through the story. I'm like, oh, who's this lady? And then there's Vampirella. Who's this lady though? So
well, she's a stylish woman. She likes to change her appearance throughout the night.
She changes her haircut every panel.
Yeah, like Ramona Flowers, Scott Pilgrim.
But we see her like running, and she's all scared. And in the background, we see like a King Tut looking face, and then a mummy looking face with fangs.
Yeah, it's pretty great. All this art.
Yeah, the art is spectacular. All right, Jenk. So how does the story begin?
Oh, the story proper begins in Rome. It's nighttime, and here's some guy. We'll call him Tuffy. He's out for a smoke.
Everybody Tuffy.
And he's smoking a cigarette. He does not hear the others approach, but he starts to smell something like the stink of death. And that's when he's kind of like, oh, maybe something's going on out here. And cuts to the next panel. He's floating dead in the river.
Oh, yeah, there's a mummy coming behind him. Yeah.
Yep. Drowned him right there in the river. And the mummy just continues walking to the museum. He's a very cultural mummy, and he wants to go see the Egyptology section. See his relatives, I guess.
Well, he wants to go back home. He comes out at night and murders people and then goes back to his little crypt. And because we see a security guard there, and he's looking around saying, who's that? Who's there? Madre Dios, no. And he looks in, and he sees the little mummy's face there, and he's got blood on his mouth.
Yeah, he's no regular mummy.
And now we cut over to Vampire again. Like, see, Vampire. This looks nothing like Vampirella, but she looks good, and she's getting ready. Her buddy's Pendy, this old guy, and Pendragon is his name. He's like an old sorcerer who was disgraced or something. So now he's just a stage magician, but they became buddies, and he's like her sidekick. And he's like the only family she has on Earth, basically. So,
except for all of her past relatives, apparently.
Yeah. So what are they going to do? They're just going to like go to the museum or something for something to do.
Yeah, pretty much. They're talking about they destroyed this vampire, way back in the day, but his remains are here in the museum. So we gotta go take a look. Make sure he's still dead, I guess.
Yeah. This ties back to her Cleopatra adventures, I think.
Yeah.
Ptolemy, I think is his name. The dead mummy. And they basically just want to make sure he's still dead. I don't know.
as you do. I like to check on all my relatives all constantly. Just make sure they're still dead.
Just make sure they're dead. Yeah. Maybe you leave something heavy on their grave so they can't get up. Yeah. So they go to the museum and they go to the little sarcophagus of this Ptolemy fella. And again, nothing like Vampirella right there. Like, that doesn't look like her at all.
Yeah, again, this is kind of like that other issue where like the close-up stuff looks amazing, but when you get to the farther out shots, maybe not as much effort being put in. But I still like them better than, you know, what the Satana guy was doing with the faraway shots where they just look like garbage.
So they're just talking about this Ptolemy fella. He's a descendant of Alexander the Great, ruler of the Upper and Lower Nile, king of kings, and well-known vampire.
Yeah.
So they're just looking at him. They're dead in his sarcophagus. And they're like, how about that? He's still dead. And
he's like, forgive me for painting the memory of one of your relatives, my dear. He's like, yeah, whatever. My earlier incarnation as Cleopatra, he was my brother, husband, and co-ruler. Vampirella did some weird shit.
Brother/husband.
Yeah.
But she says she rejected him utterly, as I now reject his memory. He was totally evil and wholly vile. Yeah, you're sleeping with his sister. And then, and next to the mummy's case, there's also a little funeral urn in which they took out his brains, heart, and viscera of the departed monarch. And Vampirella says, he can never harm anyone again, Pendy. The heart that we pierced with the stake will never beat again. Ptolemy's mummy is only the husk of a vampire with no spirit or will to direct it. And his Pendragon fella, he says, speaking of matters spiritual, he just pulls out some booze and he starts drinking.
Like this guy's style.
This guy sounds great.
It's a good time.
All right, now see on this next page at the 3 panels at the top, this creepy looking fella comes up, starts hitting on Vampirella, and he's like, you are interested in antiques, Signorina? And she says, well, yes. And he starts kissing her hand, and he says, I'm Bruno Verdi, Professor Bruno Verdi, enchanted. And she says, I'm Vampirella. Everyone has to say their name twice.
Yep.
But look at her, and then the third panel, she's thinking to herself, he's cute. Now that's Vampirella. She looks awesome.
Yeah. He's got the parted bangs. Yep, that's very Vampirella.
And the little birthmark on the inside of her right breast, too. Look at that. You can see it. But, so, like, that's how I want her to look all the time, but that's always the way it's going to go in this issue.
Well, not so much.
So what's the deal with this fellow with the mustache, and he's the professor, and what's he telling them?
He says, concerning the mummy of the pharaoh Ptolemy, there have been unfortunate rumors, and she's like, what rumors? He was, a bunch of people say he was vampire, and we have a big problem keeping night watchmen here because they keep resigning. And he's like, hey, do you want to do something later, and I'll show you around? She's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Because again, now look at this next, like, again, at the bottom here, completely different woman.
Yeah, she doesn't even have dark hair anymore. It's definitely like blonde or light brunette at this point.
Yeah. It's all kind of like curly and flowy, not like a straight and everything. So,
yeah.
But anyway,
wigs.
But she's getting ready for her date with this professor guy because he sent her a bunch of flowers, and she's got her sexy Vampirella outfit on underneath her normal clothing.
Yeah, I guess that's her planet's version of underwear.
So it comes into play later. So they go out to dinner, and then they're boozing up a little. She's having a real good time. And then he says, hey, why don't I take you down and show you all the crypts and stuff underneath the museum or whatever, right?
Yeah, she's getting antsy. She's like, you said you were going to show me those antiquities. And she's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, you'll see them.
Yeah.
You shall see the antiquities, Vampirella, tonight, now.
And he's like, this, my dear, is the entrance to one of Rome's legendary catacombs. Beneath the Eternal City, there is another city, the abode of the ancient dead. Yeah. So he takes her down to these catacombs, and he's like, "Hey, Vampirella, stay close to me because, you get down here, you'll get lost. You'll never find your way out."
Yep.
And and she's looking around, and then next thing you know, that Bruno guy just takes a hike. He disappears. And she's like, "Hey, Bruno, where the heck are you? Bruno, don't leave me here." She starts freaking out. And then what happens, Jack?
Well, a mummy pops out, and she's like, it's Ptolemy. Like, no, you can't be. You're dead. But there he is. He's got his vampire fangs and his mummy form, and he's coming after her.
Yep.
And then a bunch of other, dead bodies start coming to life, and they're all reaching out for her.
Yeah, so it's basically what we saw in the cover there. And she's like, it's a nightmare. And they grab that cool leopard print coat, and they rip it right off her. So now
she's back to her classic Vampirella outfit. That's it.
Yeah, these mummies, they know what they're doing. They just rip all her clothes off, except for her Vampirella outfit. And
Vampirella is, I don't know, not very heroic here. She's just kind of cowed in fear, completely overwhelmed. And luckily the goat-faced god of the sun from ancient Egypt shows up, and he blasts them with some light beams and just kills them. Because otherwise she was going to do nothing and just die.
Yeah. Amun-Ra, the ram-headed sun god of ancient Egypt. Yep. So he blasts away all the mummies. That's a very good point there, Jank. Yeah, she is not heroic here at all. But what can you do? She has a weakness for mummies, She's scared of mummies.
Aren't we all?
Nobody's perfect. So she starts talking to this Amun-Ra fella, and he's trying to drop little hints about this Ptolemy, and what is he? She's like, "I don't understand. I saw the walking mummy of Ptolemy. Yet with my own hand, I drove the stake into his heart. The heart was not only pierced but removed. The mummy was only an empty vessel. Amun-Ra, how could it happen? How?" And he says, "The empty vessel was occupied by another."
Yeah.
Who, Amun-Ra? Who? A dabbler in the black arts. So someone is possessing the mummy's form and helping the mummy feed, but he won't come out and tell her who it is. He's like, "Hey, Vampirella, figure it out."
There's only so many characters in this book.
Yes.
Who could it be?
Maybe it's that creepy guy with the porn mustache. Do you really think it might be him?
Weird Sonny Bono looking guy.
His name, Amun-Ra, his name. "Need you ask, my child?" And she just gets all sad. And she says, Bruno. Yeah, the professor. That's right. She cracked the case.
Of course.
She's quite the detective chimp.
She's
And she turns into a bat, and she flies over to Bruno's apartment there. And she sneaks in, and she's right about to bite his neck while he's sleeping, and he wakes up. And he's like, "You, but you thought that those ghouls had picked my bones and avenged long-dead Ptolemy, whose empty husk you have used for your vile purposes. But you are wrong." And she just latches right onto his throat there.
Yeah, I guess the rationale here was that he was coming after her because by possessing Ptolemy's body, he also got residual hatred of Vampirella from the body because Ptolemy hated her. So now some of that bled into him, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what we're going here. The human form of Bruno was just to lure her down into those catacombs, and then possess the shell, the husk of Ptolemy, so he could feed on her and get his revenge.
Not actually a vampire, but by inhabiting the body of a mummy vampire, he's starting to get vampire, tendencies or whatever.
Yeah, but it's all kind of like Ptolemy's way to get revenge, is to lure her down there and boom, kill her. But, so what happens when she, sucks all his blood there?
She quenches herself, draining the veins of he who is known to the world as the handsome, scholarly antiquarian. This done, she sits back and views the total dissolution of his cadaver. So yeah, he's just kind of he looks like he's a skeleton here, essentially, but, or at least very drained.
Like a smoldering husk of bones and ash.
Takes a lot out of you getting drained in this version.
What a way to go, Vampirella.
But then also the body of Ptolemy, the mummy, also turns to dust, and so does the heart in that urn just kind of spilled over and turns to dust.
Yeah, I had no idea what was happening in that panel.
Yeah.
The urn blowing up or whatever. I have no idea what's going on there. But
there was narration.
Then we just see Vampirella. She's back with Pendragon, and he's like, "Whatever happened to that cute young professor?" And she says, "Bruno. Oh, him? As a lover, he didn't have much mileage. Went all to pieces. And you might say, I just got fed up with him." And she looks over her shoulder, winking at the camera with her fangs showing.
Yep.
A little joke there from Vampirella. And
how many issues do you think they ended with that same joke?
And that's the end of the little Vampirella story. So
yeah.
How about that? It's Vampirella.
Yeah. Oh boy. I don't feel like we got a great taste of what her adventures are like. At least I would hope.
No,
not.
I think you did actually. I think you did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I was flipping through a bunch of these issues, and there's nothing really too dramatic. It always seems like she gets, she's walking somewhere, she gets roped into hanging out with some people. She finds out these people are bad, and then at the end she bites one of them. That seems to be.
Dang, I was hoping she would actually fight somebody at some point.
No.
It's cowering and then, draining them while they sleep.
I didn't, maybe she has big fist fights at some point, but I didn't see him really. It's, I mean, hey, I'd happily check some more issues of Vampirella.
Yeah. Do your scholarly research.
This seems like pretty standard fare. It's always 8 pages of just people sitting around talking, and then she bites somebody. So that's kind of fun.
Well, they're giving the people what they want, I guess.
Yeah. So there you go. That's Vampirella. Hey, something else we forgot to mention here about Vampirella, Jack. And I think it was 1996. She had a movie, Vampirella.
Did you really?
Yes. And it seemed like it might have been just a straight-to-video situation. But the good news is it's available on YouTube for free.
Oh.
So we will be watching that on the LCS Hockey Radio Show at some point in the future. You can rest assured.
I'm well, I don't know if I should say I'm excited.
No, you should be. Because the actress is real good looking and the costume is authentic to the comics. So,
right.
But that's something everyone can check out on the YouTube as well when they're done watching this here fine podcast of Vampirella. All right, so anything about this story? It wasn't very exciting. It's just straight paint by numbers. Hey, here we go. We're going to do this. We're going to do this, and here we are. We're doing this. That's
yeah. I mean, I guess it's cool that we covered some more vampires and also mummies. So I feel like we hit the major 4 food groups of monsters. That's cool. We got the werewolves, we got the mummies, we got Frankensteins, we got vampires. So
what more can you want from October?
Yeah. And I did like the art. The art here was pretty great.
Pepe Gonzalez.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't really say much about the story here, other than the moment where her buddy just pulls out some booze and starts drinking it. That guy's cool.
The art is great. Again, I would like more consistency in how Vampirella is depicted, but she still looked great even when she didn't look like Vampirella. So
still a foxy lady. Either way.
But it's a fun little thing, so I enjoyed it. I'm glad I've experienced Vampirella. I know all about Drakulon and all that other stuff.
Yeah. I would definitely be curious to see how they evolved this into the 90s era and then the Dominate era. I'm assuming they did, started coming up with more lore and more, actual stories.
And I think they actually gave her a costume that was less revealing as well.
Not in the 90s. I know it was still pretty.
Yeah, this was late in the 2000s. She was. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cover her up.
Really.
Yeah. But so all right, that's Vampirella. I'll still give it a 7 because the cover's great. The cover was awesome.
It's great. Yep.
The art's great.
Interior art's pretty damn solid. Well, I mean, again, big fan of the art, but I don't think I can go higher than a 6. The story really was kind of a nothing.
So there you go. Vampirella. That's it for Shocktober. Do we have a theme for November at all? Like only turkeys or something? Every issue has to have a turkey?
Yes. That would be very difficult, but.
All right, Jank. Well, what's your first post-Shocktober pick for everybody?
Yeah, I was kind of torn, but I think I'm going to go with coming out of Shocktober. We're going to go back to kind of the nuts and bolts, the basics that we like to return to from time to time. So we're going to do an issue of Uncanny X-Men.
Nice.
We've done a lot of different X-Men eras, but we never really covered the Australian era. So I figured we would do Uncanny X-Men number 251 with that awesome cover that was recently immortalized in the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Of Wolverine being crucified on the giant X.
Oh, that cover is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had that one. I was still buying it at this point. So this would have been like 88, somewhere around there?
This is like late 89.
Oh, 89. All right.
Yeah.
So, Uncanny X-Men 251. If memory serves, weren't the Reavers the one that kind of pinned them to that thing?
Yep. Yeah, so we got Donald Pierce, we got Lady Deathstrike, and the rest.
Love Lady Deathstrike. And Donald Pierce, he was one of the Hellfire Club guys that Wolverine gutted, right?
Yeah.
Came back.
And a bunch of the other Reavers, I believe, are also Hellfire Club minions who kind of got gutted.
By Wolverine. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Wolverine's kind of his trick. He would just gut you. Back in the day. So.
That's why they're just putting him up on a cross. They really got a bone to pick with Wolverine.
And this is, of course, still Chris Claremont at this point, and Mark Silvestri was the artist, right?
Yep, that's correct.
I love Silvestri's run. It was great. Big fan. So, all right. So that'll be next week here on The Big Show. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We appreciate the support. And until next week, don't get any jank on you.